Hello, and welcome to Group 4's video for Demo 1. Developed by all the names on screen, the project our demo will be centered around is called Are You Listening? Are You Listening is a full-stack, all-inclusive audiobook service where users will be able to purchase and listen to a wide variety of audiobooks from a wide range of genres. Users will also be able to select from a variety of membership tiers. Are You Listening has options to view our catalog, add an audiobook to your cart, log in and sign up as a user, and to add an audiobook to your wishlist. This is done in the front end by using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. For the back end, we will be using MySQL and connecting to the front end via Node.js. Our demo consists of 4 subgroups, each assigned one user case for them to demonstrate. To begin, we have Hema, Afreen, and Ravina handling the first user case, catalog/search.
Hello, my name is Afreen Fatima, and my teammates Hima Nukala and Ravina Gupta worked on the catalog and search functionality for our project. Since we are an audiobook service, we would need a successful catalog with a search feature to go through all available audiobooks that we provide. There are many cases where we would need to test to make sure that the search function is working accurately. Some of our use cases are users should be able to use the search bar for a specific audiobook, author, or genre. Users only need a substring of the desired input, and they will be able to see an output of similar titles. It should show nothing if there are no results found. And let's take a look at our code. So the main feature of this application is that it can perform substring matching, which allows users to easily find their desired content. The search bar searches for a specific sequence of characters, also known as substring, within a larger piece of text. The search engine compares each character until a match is found, and it is not case sensitive.
Hello, my name is Hima Nukala, and I will be talking about the code and the back end for our search functionality. So right now, as you can see, we have a bunch of SQL connections created. We have some SQL databases. The one that we will be using is the one for catalog. As you can see, we have a couple. So we will probably be using the database for audiobooks. So as you can see, we have our code. So this works in our front end as well, so we will show that. And then we're gonna show it in Postman to show the back end. So right now, let me just run this code. As you can see, it's been started at localhost 8081. We're gonna follow the link. So right now we have all the books in our front end. We have functionality such as add to cart and add to wishlist, but we will get into that later with the other subgroups. Let me just type in a book that I want to search, maybe The Bourne Identity. I get back The Bourne Identity. We will be going more into the use cases with Postman. So let's go back to our code. So we're gonna now use our Postman code to just show that it works in the back end as well. So this is just the code that we were using in our Postman. So you can see it's been started at localhost 8081. We're just gonna copy that. We're gonna go to Postman. So we're using a get method. So sending it, we get all the book titles and all the information associated to each entry in the database. Say that I want to find a book. We're going to give it a key of search, and then we're going to give it a value of any keyword. So again, let's say Bourne. This returns back the Bourne identity. Say I want to look for an author. We can type in Nicholas. We get all the books by the author. Genre, let's type in romance. We get all the books in romance. So say that I'm just gonna type in my name because I have no books associated with me, title or author or anything wise. So see, we have nothing for now. So this basically shows that our code is working on the back end as well.
Hello, my name is Matthew Gravet, and I will be representing subgroup 2 of group 4 for demo 1. Our subgroup, composed of myself, Ramya, and Nantana, were responsible for the second user case of this demo, cart. As an audiobook service, we would need to provide the user a way to purchase any of the audiobooks currently on our site. This way is presented in our user case, cart. Cart is accessible from the catalog itself via an Add to Cart button located at the tail end of each audiobook. It can be divided into 3 separate cases, these cases being: users can add a chosen audiobook to their cart, displaying the cart in its entirety. Users can go back from the cart display to add another chosen audiobook to it. Finally, users can remove a chosen audiobook from their cart display. Transitioning from our slides, I will now demonstrate each of the user cases I had previously stated, as well as the countermeasure we have set in place, with Postman on the left, MySQL Workbench on the top right, and VS Code located bottom right, holding the backend code for our cart. We begin with a brief glimpse of our post code before running the file and connecting to our local host server. From there, we will do our first post to add an audiobook to our cart table, the front-end equivalent being the Add to Cart button mentioned in the slides. Before doing so, however, we will first look at our catalog table to determine which book to add to the cart. Let's go for Pride and Prejudice. Deciding on Pride and Prejudice, I will put the information necessary into Postman, in this case, the book ID, book title, and price. After doing so, I will simply click Send. Doing so, and going to our cart table, a quick refresh will show that Pride and Prejudice is now in our cart. Here you can see the terminal in our Visual Studios respond to the post, and in Postman itself, you can see the response. Next, we will show the second user case, which would be going back into the catalog to add another audiobook. This time, we'll be using Post once more, but with a different audiobook. In this case, after looking through the catalog table, let's go for Dune. Putting our new information in for Dune and clicking Send, our studio terminal will come into life again, adding in a new post, and going back to cart table and refreshing will show that Dune is now also in the cart with Pride and Prejudice. Here's the response again for Postman. Finally, I will click Post again. However, I will not change anything inside the body, telling our code to add the exact same book into the cart table again. After hitting Send, however, a different response is given on Postman, saying that the book has been recognized to be already in the cart, and now refreshing the cart table will show that there is still only one copy of Dune in it. Seeing as you can have only one audiobook, this countermeasure aims to make sure that the cart cannot have more than one copy of the same audiobook in it. The response in Visual Studio's code. Going over the user cases involving Post, we will now show a glimpse of Delete in our Visual Studio's code, which would be right here. And we will swap over to Delete on Postman to show our third and final user case, which is removing books from the cart, or in our backend terms, deleting them from the cart table. We will first delete Dune. The book ID here is for Pride and Prejudice, so we will change it to Dunes S6. After clicking Send, we will see the terminal come to life, and when we refresh on the cart table, we will see that Dune is now gone. Afterwards, I will read off the book ID for Pride and Prejudice on the cart, which is R1. Replace that book ID with this one. Click Send once more. Refresh. And see that our cart is now empty. Now that the backend has been covered, we can quickly gloss over the front end of cart and show what that code would represent to the user's interface to a basic extent. To begin, I'll set up the local server for our catalog page to show what the user would be looking at for our user case. Now that it's set up, this page I've had will load up on refresh with the catalog server, complete with every audiobook available in a neat and simple format, along with 2 buttons at the end of each one. For obvious reasons, we will only be using the Add to Cart button, and for comparison's sake, do the same steps that I had taken for the backend demonstration. To start off, I will add the same book that I did at the beginning, Pride and Prejudice. Afterwards, we are given this menu to where I can go back into the catalog, find the other book I had added, which was Dune. Eventually. There it is. And then I'll add to cart. As you can see, just like before, both are there. Finally, I will go back to the catalog, attempt to add Dune again. I might have gone past it. There it is. Add to cart. And I get the same error as before.
Hello, I am Connor Radecki of Subgroup 4 of Group 4. Our subgroup contained of me and Aman. Another feature we offer is the ability to add an audiobook to a wishlist. Wishlist contains post method where a user can add an audiobook from the catalog to the wishlist, and a delete method where a user can remove a specific audiobook from their wishlist. Now I will begin the demonstration of each of the user cases for the wishlist. Here I am showing Postman on the left, MySQL Workbench on the top right, and Visual Studio Code on the bottom right. Here you can see the code that is written for Post. Now I will run the file and connect to our local host. Now we are connected to our local host. Now I will show the Post method of adding an audiobook to the wishlist table. First, we will look at the catalog table and decide what book to add. Let's add the Notebook. Now we will need the book title, the book ID, and the price. Now we put all this information in the Postman and click Send. Now you can see that we have successful output from Postman. Looking at the Visual Studio Code, we also have successful output. And if you go to our wishlist table on MySQL Workbench and click Refresh, you can see that the book has successfully been added to the wishlist table. Now let's try this again with another book from the catalog. Let's try The Hating Game. So again, we'll need a new book title, a new book ID, and a new price. Now, once we click Send, we see that we get successful output from Postman, successful output again from Visual Studio Code, and if we go to the wishlist table, we can see that this book has successfully been added. Now let's see what will happen if we try to add a book that is already in our wish list to the wish list. So let's try to click Send again to see what will happen. You see that we get an error message saying that a book with the same book ID is already in your wish list. And if we refresh the wish list table, you see that nothing has happened, nothing has changed. Now moving on, let's go into the delete method. Let's move over to the delete part of the code. Here, this is where we coded delete for the wish list. And the only parameters we need for delete is the book ID. So let's try to delete the notebook. The book ID we need is R2. And once we click Send, if we refresh the MySQL Workbench, you can see that the book has been removed from the wish list. Let's try the same with the book The Hating Game. Let's change the book ID to R6. Click Send. And if we refresh the wish list table, we see that the book has also been removed from the wish list table, and that our wish list table is now empty. Now to look over the front end of wish list, let's first run this code and set up the local host. Now that our local host is set up, we can refresh this page, and now we will see our catalog. So let's go and add a book to our wish list. Let's add the notebook. After clicking add to wish list, you can see that in our wish list we have the notebook. Now let's go back to the catalog, and we could try to add another book. Let's add The Fault in Our Stars, and I can see that we have both these books in our wish list. Now let's go back to our catalog and see what happens if we try to add one of the books that we already have into our wish list. Let's try to add the notebook back into our wish list. And you can see here that we get an error message saying that this book is already in our wish list.
The next step for Cart and Wishlist are to connect Cart to a payment API that would help users check out the audiobooks in their cart. We also plan to add some additional features to our wishlist, such as establishing a connection between the wishlist and the cart, and notify users regarding any new information about the books in their wishlist.
Hi, my name is Matt Kokolis, and I'll be representing subgroup 4 demo of the registration and login form. My other subgroup member is Aryan Doshi. So on this slide, I'm going to give you a brief rundown of what I'm going to be going over and how kind of the login and registration works. So the reason that we actually need a login and registration is because all of the user's data is associated with their account. And in order to create an account, we would need their login and user information, basically. So below are some of the post and get methods. So there's 2 post methods and 1 get method. The post method is one of the post methods for registration, the other is for login, and one of the get methods for login. So the get method for login, I'm just going to briefly go over because it's not going to be shown in Postman, but essentially we are registering and then it uses a get method to get them to the login page after a successful registration. And that way it ensures that the user can't just type in a dummy URL and get into the login page and basically break the system. So that's for that get method. And then for the post method for the login, it's going to get the user's data from the backend and confirm that the login credentials are correct. And then for the post method for the registration, it's going to put the user's data that they put in the registration form and put it into the backend. And below are some of the following use cases. So the first use case is the user can register first and then log in with their correct credentials. The second use case is that the user can't log in without registering first. And the third use case is the user can't log in without correctly typing in their credentials. So now I'm going to go over the front end here before we get into the back end. So for registering, I'm just going to register with a dummy username, email, and password. So I'm going to choose test3. The email is going to be test3@gmail.com. And the password I'm just going to choose as admin. So I'm going to hit this register button and it should bring me right to the login page. And Google Chrome will come up with the change your password. That's just because the password isn't really that secure because you can see it in the back end. But all that takes is hashing, and Google Chrome is just recognizing that this isn't the most secure login because it's running on the local host. So now for the login, I'm going to log in. So the way we log in is we first use the email that we chose. So test3@gmail.com. And the password is going to be obviously admin. And it's going to hide it too, so the user won't be able to see. So we're going to hit login, and it's going to bring us to this login successful page. Again, Chrome is just going to come up with that form. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the back end here. So if we go to the back end and refresh, you're going to see right there, we have our email is test3@gmail.com, our username is test3, and our password is admin. So now I'm going to go into the Postman, which is a way that we can test the post methods for the login and registration. So for posting for login, I'm going to go to localhost 3000/register. And here we have the registration. And then we're going to basically input our own registration. So it's going to create a user for us. And this is going to be done using raw JSON. So it's going to send a post. And if we go to preview, it brings us right to the login page because it was successfully registered, essentially. And I'm going to show you that in the backend just to confirm. So if I go here, and here we have Joe1. Our email that we chose was Joe1. Or sorry, the username was Joe1. The email was Joe1@gmail.com, and the password was Joe1. And then this is all confirmed that these are all the same. So then if we're going to go back to the login. So now we're going to go to the login page and try to log in with these credentials just to show you the post method and how the post method works. So for the body, we're actually going to change it up a little bit since we only need the email. And so the email is going to be joe1@gmail.com and the password is going to be joe1. And there's going to be a post method because it's going to be getting the info from the backend and just confirming it with the post method. So we're going to hit send here. And login was successful. So you see that the backend works fine and the post methods in Postman are shown, and as well as the front end works as intended. So this is all going to come together with the rest of the subgroups in order to submit user data.
Currently, our project is capable of compiling 4 user cases. Looking back, we are very content with the amount of ideas we were able to transfer from our reports to the demo. Our priority for this project isn't just for it to work properly, but to also meet other real-world business requirements. Payment processing from the cart will be done via the third-party API PayPal. Taxing on the books will be based on the New Jersey tax rate, and other business policies and rules are covered in our report. We do plan to make an official page for it in our next demo. This has been Group 4's video for Demo 1 Are You Listening? Thanks for watching.